welcome back to another episode of Backpack Bushcraft. Last week we started our EDC series. I began by telling you kind of what EDC kits are, what they're comprised of, how they're made. I also went and talked about the problems with the bad EDC kits and how to avoid those mistakes and how to get a good EDC kit and what that's sort of comprised of. I went on from there to talk about 3 characteristics that all the gear in your EDC kit should have. And I finally followed it up by adding some gear to our EDC kit, as well as valuing it at about $25. Now, I said this last week, we'll say it this week, and I will say it for the next 2. Don't buy for your EDC kit. Your EDC kit should be comprised of items that you're already familiar with. Keep your cost down. You will more likely have options similar to my C's, similar to my Altoids Fire Kit, that you can use without having to go spend any money at all. If you wanted to recreate this exact kit, then yeah, it's probably going to cost you somewhere over $50. But that's not a good idea because you're going to lose the familiarity of using your own gear and equipment. So again, you might have to buy a few pieces. Maybe you don't have some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about and that you will have to go out and buy. That's okay. But do not buy every piece of gear to build your EDC kit. Use stuff that you already have on hand. So let's go ahead and talk about this week. This week, we're going to be adding another characteristic, along with 2 other pieces of gear to our already growing EDC kit. First off, let's talk about the characteristic, which is compatibility. Compatibility is very important to your EDC kit, and it gives you 2 distinct advantages over non-compatible gear. Number 1, compatible items obviously will take up less space. If you have seen my other Bushcrafter knife, you can check back at an older video. But compared to this knife, it's half the size. Also, the combustion kit is about a 1/6 of the size, maybe even a 1/7 of the size of the big fire tube. Having lightweight gear and having smaller gear makes it easier for you to actually pack your EDC kit and take that EDC kit wherever you go. The second advantage is most compact gear, or at least true compact gear, will be just as good as a larger counterpart. What do I mean by that? Well, let's look at my C's by Camillus. This C's can do a lot of the same stuff that the Bushcrafter by Camillus can do. It can baton wood to an extent, it can strike ferro rods, and it can also carve very well. Same with my combustion kit. This can set the same fires that my large fire tube can. It can set sure fires, it can set spark fires, and it can set solar fires. Now, I'm sure you're thinking to yourself, well, if that's the case, if they can do the same job, why even have the bigger option? What's the point in it? Well, the bigger option gives you that, more options. While my C's can baton, strike ferro rod, and carve, like I said, my Bushcrafter can baton 20 times better than the C. Also, the knife is made out of 1095 steel, which means that I can actually strike it with a piece of flint and get sparks. And it has a very big belly on it, so it's really good at carving and even skinning tasks. It is the same with the combustion kits. The Altoids kit can do the same things that the big fire tube can, but the big fire tube has 2 methods of surefire. It has a big ferro rod. It has a very powerful magnifying lens. When you start to build your EDC kit, you will probably more or less notice that your banner gear is too big and bulky to fit in your kit, and that's okay. Look for the smaller and compatible option. Remember, we're not going camping with this gear. This gear is supposed to be for emergency purposes only. So let's talk about this week's gear. This week's gear will include a container option as well as some cordage. Our container option is going to be this stainless steel 17-ounce water bottle. The things I like about this, it is all metal, it is single walled, and the cap is removable, which means at the point at which I'm going to boil in it, it's entirely metal. This allows me to boil my water. If you can't boil water in your Bushcraft bottle, you need to get rid of it. Boiling water is the simplest and easiest way to purify your drinking water. Chemicals have their place, however, with chemicals you have to have a precise amount of water to a precise amount of chemical, and any indifference or mistakes made can make your water unsafe to drink. With boiling, it's too easy. Fill up the bottle, place it near the fire, wait till it boils, let it boil for 2 minutes, you then have safe drinking water. Also, I know a lot of people for their EDC kit, for whatever reason, want to go with plastic options. Plastic is horrible in Bushcraft. With a plastic water bottle, you might be able to boil with it, but it is very hard, and I will not advise it in any case. I also feel like using chemicals in a plastic water bottle could eventually destroy the plastic or break it down to the point where you're drinking part of it. That's no good. This does have a big disadvantage, and I'll get into it right now. It's 17 ounces. the preferred size of a Bushcraft water bottle should be 32. The reason is because it's closer to 64 ounces, which is the amount of water you should be drinking a day. This is actually even debatable with outdoorsmen, because some people say that outdoorsmen need to drink even more than 64 ounces of water a day. But either way, this is the biggest flaw to this. However, I'm talking about compatibility. I'll have to sacrifice some to getting something that I can use. More trips or more fires is completely acceptable to me if I still have a stainless steel water bottle and it doesn't weigh that much. Some people may not like this idea. I'm okay with it. It's your personal preference. Moving on to our next piece of gear, I will be using 60 feet of bake line. I'm choosing bake line over paracord for the simple reason that bake line can set up just as good as paracord, and you can make a net with it. This gives me more options, which is what I'm trying to pull out of my EDC kit. Like I said, this amount of cordage takes up almost no space. However, I'm actually going to save even more space by placing it in my water bottle. Now, that's not my only option for it. I actually came up with some other ideas. I'm choosing not to use these for the EDC kit, but they should be mentioned if nothing else. You could also choose to carry one of these survival bracelets. This is an 8-inch survival bracelet. Typically, the rule of thumb is for every inch of bracelet, it's a foot of cordage. So it's about 8 foot of cordage, plenty enough for setting up a shelter. I don't like to wear these around my wrist. I just don't like to do that. I prefer to wear them around my ankle. I like to use bright colors, however, because it does allow you to signal stuff, which is probably going to be important to you if you have to actually use your EDC kit. However, like I said, the limitation of this bracelet is only 8 feet of paracord. That's a good amount, but I really would like more. Or with that in mind, I made a one ring belt. This is made out of 6 16-foot strands of paracord. And a steel ring. What I love about single ring belts is they're super easy to use. You just place it through the ring, get it tightened down to your waistline, and then you just basically tie a knot in it, and it'll hold up. The problem with this belt that a lot of people see is it's really kind of flamboyant, and people may not want to take that with them every day to work. And I agree. You could also make this out of browns, blacks, or greens, whatever you would prefer to do. Definitely want to check out the blog this week because I'll go into more detail about how I made this. So let's talk about cost. I'll talk about the other options. This is typically about $5, $8. The belt is comprised about 100 feet of paracord, and I think it ended up being probably somewhere around $15, maybe $12 to make. It just depends on the parts. However, those aren't going to factor into our EDC cost. We're only going to be charging the water bottle and the cordage inside. The water bottle cost me $10, but you could easily get it on sale for about $8, possibly even $5, depending on how bad off they wanted to sell it. And the cordage actually came from a spool of 120 feet for about $10. So I used half of it, so we'll say it's about $5. That means this is $15, which means when added to our other items gives me a total of $40. For that, you could buy 2 of those crappy Survivor water bottles. Yay. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Make sure you come back next week when we go over our cover option. Also, we're going to be talking about the container that we're going to use to keep all this stuff in and packing it, and I want to talk about how I came up with those decisions. Make sure you don't miss that, and to do that, you need to like, comment, subscribe to the channel, Backpack Bushcraft. If you want to keep up with me and know what I'm doing, you can follow me on Facebook and Twitter at BPackBushcraft. As always, you can check out the website where I post a blog every Sunday night, 10 p.m. EST. That website is www.backpackbushcraft.com. And until next time, guys, keep those fires burning. Put in a log on for me. Thanks.